This section talks about exponents, specifically 0 as an exponent and negative exponents. You remember from before, if you have an expression like x squared, that equals x times x. X to the fourth power just means you multiply x times itself 4 times. So what happens if you have x to the 0 power? Well, by definition, anything to the 0 power equals 1. 20 to the 0 power equals 1. Parentheses, x, y, z to the 0 power would equal 1. Alright, so that's just by definition and something you want to remember. Anything to the 0 power equals 1. Alright, so on the next slide we'll talk about negative exponents. If you have something that is raised to a negative exponent, 4 to the negative second power, what that's telling you to do is take the base 4 and put it in the denominator. So the answer to that would be 1 over 16. X to the negative 3 would equal 1 over x cubed. You keep the number, or the power that you had here, the 3 in this case, and it remains, but the negative sign here and here create a fraction from the expression. So what happens if you already have y or whatever it is and it's raised to a negative power, but it's in the denominator? Well, then that simply will come up to the numerator, and you end up with y squared. So you see, all you're doing is getting rid of that negative exponent and writing it either in the numerator or denominator wherever it wasn't before. Let's go ahead and simplify a couple of expressions. What if I have, this is an example we're going to do, I have 6 times x to the negative 2 times y cubed. Well, I want to write that expression without any negative exponents. So all that happens is 6y cubed stays in the numerator, x squared goes to the denominator, and we're done. No negative exponents, and it's simplified. So the next example, we have the expression 3x cubed y to the negative 2. We're going to find out what the value of it is when we plug in 4 for x and 3 for y. Before I do that, though, I want to simplify the original expression. So that would be equal to then 3x cubed over y squared. I think it's going to be easier to work with if you first simplify the expression, get rid of the negative exponents. Now I go ahead and plug in 4 for x, so I'm going to have, now notice that I'm only going to cube 4, not this first 3, no. I'm only going to cube 4. And in the denominator, I'm going to plug in 3, and I'm going to square that. Alright, so what do we get? So the numerator is going to be 3 times 64 divided by 9, which equals, come back down here a little bit. Before I multiply that whole thing out, maybe I can simplify it a little bit, and I recognize that 3 goes into 9 3 times, and it goes into 3 once, so I can then rewrite this as 64 over 3, and I know 3 doesn't go into 64 because of that little trick where you add the digits of a number, and if that sum is divisible by 3, then the number is divisible by 3. But in this case, 6 plus 4 equals 10, which is not divisible by 3. So I know I am done there. One last example we'll look at. What if I gave you x to the negative 2, y to the negative 3? Well, the negative exponent for both terms, we'll put them in the denominator, and I'll be left with 1 over x squared y cubed. So that's this lesson. Get rid of that, goes up above. I'm sure you'll have a lot of success with the homework. Good luck with it, and we'll see you on Monday.